the high milestones. And if you want to, you can take it right down to the detail. As I say, this prevents having those jammed up weeks when we're trying to do everything. But it also does something else. The boss or the marketing manager comes in and says, what are we doing about so-and-so? You say, gee, I don't know, let's look. So we walk over here and we say, well, let's see. Last week we did this and we're going to do this. Or, you know, clients and managers have short memories and they come running in, why haven't we done so-and-so? Well, come here, Joe, look at this. You know, at the start of the year we said we were going to do it on May 15th. I mean, don't blow your stack on March 1st. You know, it's right down there for May 15th. And we find people say, oh. For the first time, they come to realize, hey, we may even know what we're doing. So that is a key principle. The points after that, the budget, the evaluation, really, as Stace said, is where you stop being idealistic. Up until then, we find it a good rule to be brainstormers. And you know the rule of brainstorming, no negatives. Just let everything roll out, even if it sounds crazy. Get it up there. And then when you get over there to budget and evaluation to the actual action plan, you'll see the things that just have to drop. But it's amazing sometimes if we don't just get negative, how some really great idea can be accomplished with the tools at hand, provided we didn't throw it on the cutting room floor when it first came up by saying, oh, well, we could never do that. So the project flows as brainstorming, at least until the action phase, and here's the key difference. For the first time, if we'll just take the trouble to follow this along, we know here's public number one. We know who the opinion leaders are. We know who the cheerleaders are. We know what we want them to do. And it's right here, right in front of us. And then we know new information that we want, or perhaps a reference here to see the study done in '82. Just a way to remind us that we have some real deep information, or we need deep information. And then here is a real psychological profile of those people. These two things make it tough for us to get to them. These two things are ways we can overcome this. The abuses and affinities which make it tough can perhaps be overcome by allowing them some participation, by having some rewards involved for them. And then we go on to the detailed portion of it. Now, if this seems complicated, I guess it is. You can see why we feel a 2-day or a week process to set this up for the year is well worth it. Because when this is done, all you have to do now is do your work. And all the evidence we know from our own practice, from our clients, is that one of the characteristics of most public relations people is that we're doing our work, but we're always worried that somebody is gaining on us. Because we don't have it down somewhere to look and see where we are. And the real genius here is to get it down. There's one other thing about this, and that is that with these wonderful new reducing Xerox machines, you can usually get this, even a very long meat paper, can be brought down to a chart, you know, about like that can go on the wall. One of the techniques we try to use is obviously to have one on our wall and on the wall of all the people we're working with. And then we take one in and we stick it up on the wall at the boss's office. Now the boss may take it down. I don't care. Usually the boss comes in and looks at that and says, I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. Because the boss's relationship with most departments usually is one of kind of wondering what you're doing and why and where you're going. And just showing this to your fellow managers can be a tremendous respect builder. And furthermore, it shows them that we have some professionalism, that we know some things, and that we have applied them. Well, you can buy into it, you can make your own version. This is just one that we've been perfecting. I must say, though, that we've had some of these go through, I'm thinking of the one in Pennsylvania, where we had about 14 managers, the real people running the institution involved, and I guess total time we took about 5 days to do this. They had never done anything like this. And we were afraid they'd be bored to tears. I can't tell you how they get into this. Because now they're really dealing, you see, with the guts organization. And then it had to go on to a 23-member board of trustees. And the board of trustees went over the process. But sure enough, when it was done with very minor modifications, the institution just flows along following the plan. It's really worth it. Shall we?
Let's try a little bit out of it. Since you don't have a lot of time, we're going to look at two columns. We're going to look at publics, and we'll look at desired behaviors. Okay? We have a case study for you. Do you want to explain it since it's your...
Sure.
I've got this stuff. I'll pass it out.
We wanted to try and pick a case that would be easy for everyone to work without going into a lot of detail. The case that we're going to work is the case of the First Amendment Congress. The First Amendment Congress is a national organization of which PRSA is one of the founding members. What it really is, as you'll see from the information, is an organization set up because of the public's declining confidence in the First Amendment. As you may or may not know, a good deal of research shows that people really don't think about the First Amendment much. They don't like people saying things they don't like to hear. And they forget that unless we all have the right to say what we want, that pretty soon they won't have any rights of free expression either. So the First Amendment Congress has been for 8 years now working to deal with attitudes and behaviors around this subject of our First Amendment rights. What we're giving you is a vision statement and a positioning statement and a rough brochure about the First Amendment Congress. Your job is to start doing a plan for FAC, at least saying who are the publics and what are the desired behaviors that we want from those publics that will let the First Amendment Congress achieve these goals. I think probably it will be more effective,
Small groups.
I don't know, I didn't count the house. Could we get together in maybe groups of 7 or 8 around a table, move around if you want to? Maybe that's too many. You may have trouble conversing. Use the rest of the room, get around, but get into some groups and try and get the feel of this idea of listing the publics by priority, list them first and then prioritize them, and then saying what desired behaviors are we looking for here?
Turn that off. Turn that thing off.
Behaviorists. That work, if you're not familiar, is of course being applied everywhere. The recent spate of books on excellence and so forth all talk about positive reinforcement, and Skinner's #1 finding was that negative enforcement really doesn't work. It's positive reinforcement that has an effect on people's behavior. Negative enforcement only makes them too scared to do anything if they can possibly avoid it. So you're certainly right. Maybe it'll help. That really is the key to all of this. And I must say, from what we're seeing around the country, that's the key to public relations practice. If we can't get to the point where we can show that our work has some effect on people's behaviors, we may indeed be superfluous. Just think about that. Because what good does it do if people love your organization? If they aren't buying its products, supporting its public policy initiatives, contributing funds if that's what you mean. It doesn't do any good to have them love you out there. They got to do something about it. You might want to look at behaviors, and just let's close with this. There are 3 kinds of behaviors, first of all. You can get people to do something, you can want people not to do something, or you can want people just to leave it alone and let you try some initiatives. Don't worry, they'll tell you when to stop. But for now, you just want them to kind of give you passive consent. Those are the 3 types of behavior we're talking about. And you can categorize them another way by saying there's a different set of 3. You either want to motivate some positive behaviors, or you may want to reinforce existing good behaviors. Or you may have to modify behaviors which are not reaching toward the goal that you're after. Well, you've been good scouts about all this. Hope it's somewhat helpful to you. Anybody who doesn't have a diffusion process in their lexicon of practice and would like to have a takeout on it, give Stacy your business card, and our staff will hate you and me and Stacy, but they will be glad to send you the material sometime within the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Pat. You're terrific. And Stacy,
this to dinner. So for now, I'd like to bring Otto and Jerry up, and they'll show it.
Okay, we might. Instead of one of us giving a talk and the other one giving a talk, we're going to have a little team play here. And since Jerry Swirling came with slides, he's going to start with those, and then I'll dovetail in.
Yeah, I brought the AV, so I get to go first.
Right. Technology always pays off.
Technology wins out always. What we thought we'd do, originally Otto and I were going to make separate presentations, but then as we were sitting here and talking about it, we were playing off of each other's comments so well that it seems to make a great deal of sense for us to kind of work more closely together on kind of a teamwork basis to make this presentation happen and make it real for you. So it's going to be a little less formal than I think we originally intended, but hopefully you'll find it that much more interesting and productive. Now, as you can see, by the way, I want to thank you very much for inviting me to come up here to speak before you tonight. It's always nice to be up here in Kittery. And by the way, what time do the outlet stores close?
9.
9 o'clock.
You may have a half hour,
Thank you.
George.
Thank you. Can you get me a deal? Thank you. The subject, as it says up here in this slide, program evaluation in the public relations profession. That's kind of an oxymoron, all too often. It's kind of a contradiction in terms. We have, I think in the profession, we have kind of a rich history of sometimes not evaluating our programs as carefully and as thoroughly as we ought to. And I think it's time to move beyond that point. There's an awful lot going on today in the profession to make that happen. And I think it's up to all of us to help make it happen. Now, in thinking about this presentation, I thought long and hard about some kind of an exciting and interesting title for it, something a little bit more, interesting than what you see here. And I thought back to the works of the great public relations pioneers, including you, Otto, and I gave that a lot of thought about your work, and Edward L. Bernays. But then I came to the conclusion, I began to think about the works of that great public relations pioneer, Jimi Hendrix, famous rock singer of the 60s, who wrote a song called Is It Love or Just Confusion? And it struck me that may be an appropriate topic, an appropriate title for this presentation, because we all profess to love and support the notion of evaluation and being as accountable as possible. And yet there's a tremendous amount of confusion that we see every day in the profession about just how we're going to make that happen. And I think we're beginning to move in the direction every day of making that more and more of a reality. And hopefully gathered here tonight we can help move it along even a couple of steps beyond where it is now. So is it love or just confusion? In my opinion, and I think in the opinion of Otto and many other professionals, including just about all of you tonight, it should be love. And now is the time to make the love real. It's time to really get out there and profess our support for evaluation of everything that we do all the time. It's the time not only to accept the whole notion of evaluation, but also to enthusiastically endorse. I don't know about all of you, but I'm constantly running into the question from our clients, how is it that we are going to gauge whether or not you're doing the job for us? After I dodge and weave a little bit, and do one of those little things, we eventually come to some conclusions as to how we're going to evaluate the work that the agency is doing on behalf of its clients all the time. So it's time to endorse, to support, to make it real. The first step is we've got it's a little out of focus, isn't it? The autofocus here isn't working. The first step is to slay a dragon that exists out there. Okay? There's a dragon who's out there. And I think the dragon is built on, his personality is based on a kind of traditional skepticism that's existed in our profession. A willingness to kind of go along, an avoidance of the issue of the need to be evaluated, of the need to have our successes measured, our results measured in the same way many other business disciplines measure them. When people ask that question, how are we going to know whether or not the plan works? Well, we kind of look shy a little bit sometimes. Basically, we say, trust us, all too often. Well, that doesn't go down too well any longer. And it's up to us to see to it that the trend changes entirely. Why? Variety of reasons, starting with the fact that, I think, Otto, it's of particular interest in yours, as a matter of fact, the increasing frequency with which you find people with MBAs who are our clients and who are the people with disciplined way of looking at things, a very analytical way of looking at things, and we need to be able to speak their language. And if we don't, they as our clients, and by the way, tonight I'll be using the term client in a very loose way. Whether you work for an agency or you work in a corporation or a nonprofit, a university, whatever it is, you all have clients. There might be people you work for, there might be the dean or whoever. They're all clients. Can you see this okay? It's okay if you can't, because I'm going to read virtually every word. Bore you to tears, okay? I'll just kind of, okay. Is that a little better? Yeah. Okay, great. All right. Second issue that's going on here, second reason for being more accountable these days, is that we're all constantly looking to have senior management involved in and appreciative of what we do. Now, there's a price to be paid for that. Once the door to the chairman's office is open, he wants to know what you're doing. And he wants to know about it in terminology that he can understand and that he can relate to in business terms. How are you helping me drive my business? How are you helping me get certain pieces of legislation passed? How are you helping get my cause known, better known, and getting people to change their behavior and their attitudes compared, when they're thinking of our business entity? So, again, there's the price to be paid for senior management involvement, and that price is accountability. Another point is that PR costs are going up. The cost of doing business with our agency or any other agency, believe me, are not going down. And the cost of good PR help is going up all the time, too. And as that happens, we need to do more constantly to justify ourselves. The more expensive it gets to have an internal staff which needs outside help, the harder we have to work to justify our presence, the more quantifiable we have to be. Likewise, as advertising costs are going up, and as clients, again, clients in that loosely defined way, turn to PR help, particularly in the marketing area, they too are going to want more quantifiable kinds of data than we've been able to give them up to now. But lastly, and perhaps most importantly, is the issue of personal and professional stature. It seems to me that we all want to be judged as professionals. We all want to be judged in specific, disciplined kinds of ways, so we know just how good we are. To me, that's the most important reason of all. Some of the ground rules of evaluation. I've got 10 of them up here, and I think they're all of equal importance. First of all, understand, please, that you're being evaluated all the time on two levels. You're being evaluated, of course, on the basis of the results that you produce, be they good results or bad results. That's probably the most finite way, the most finite universe in which you're evaluated. But you're also evaluated against the process that you put together, this sort of thing, that's up here on the brown paper on the wall, the process that you go through to achieve those results. Understand that too. Did you bring the program in on budget? Did you communicate effectively? Did you win over management support? Was the timing right? All of those other issues go into the actual evaluation of the program. I've seen programs that, against the original goals that were set, have failed. But because the rationale was so good going through and the process was so good going through, in general, people came out feeling pretty good about what happened. Likewise, evaluation itself is a process. It's kind of like a gestalt. You'll be judged, you'll be evaluated not just on the basis of your plan and its results, but a kind of general perception of you as a professional and the way you conduct yourself in the environment in which you work. So you've got to see the programs that you produce in that kind of context, in that kind of pattern. All right? There's this focus, if you will, that people will see you through and you work through. Always keep that in mind. It's a question of personal and professional imagery, I think, as much as anything else. Third point, build a constituency for the plan. And over here on the wall I saw, get senior management involved. That's really what that means. Build a constituency, because when it comes time to actually be evaluated, chances are the better educated the people with whom you've been working, vis-a-vis your plan and your goals and so forth, the better able they will be to make intelligent judgments of your work. And you can see it's like the three laws of real estate. Location, location, location. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Make sure at all points throughout the entire process, you folks know exactly what it is you're trying to do and how you're doing it, so that when it comes time for the evaluation, there are no surprises. Self-evaluation is the best. I'm sure most of you are like me. I'm my own toughest critic. Our standards are all very, very high. And if we can meet our standards, chances are we're not going to be surprised when it comes time to be evaluated by somebody else. As a matter of fact, we might be pleasantly surprised, because we'll get a better evaluation from them than we get from ourselves. Fifth, I know this too was discussed earlier, establish specific, actionable objectives. It's not enough to say we're going to increase awareness. It's not enough to say we're going to have a certain number, we're going to have people attend a certain type of event. It's not enough to say that we're going to send out newsletters so that we better communicate with people. You need to be real specific in your objectives, and I know that that was covered over here too, in the whole area of desired behaviors. We don't call them desired behaviors. We talk in our sections on objectives about what specific kinds of actions we want to bring about through our programming. Excuse me. Number 6, real important, and it's overlooked all the time. When you're setting your objectives, don't over-promise, because it'll come back and haunt you when it comes time to be evaluated. Please don't over-promise, and that's the worst thing a PR person can do, both for yourself as individuals and for all of us collectively in the profession. But likewise, don't under-promise, because if it doesn't seem important enough, people are going to say, well, why bother? So you've got to strike a happy medium there. Number 8, I think, is particularly important. Don't just show the clips. Okay? Showing the clips and calling those results is like my friends in the advertising business showing the ads that they've run and claiming those as results. It's not true. The results are the actions that have been brought about by those clips, or by whatever other activities you've undertaken on the client's behalf. So don't confuse strategies and tactics with results. It's a very, very different thing. To thine own self and to the client, be true. If you believe in yourself, if you believe in your own personal and professional abilities, then you know when you're right. And that means that if you're dealing with a person who may not understand what we do and is evaluating too harshly a thing, it's up to you to take a stand. You want to be able to go home and get a good night's sleep that night, and one way you're going to assure doing that is by taking a stand when you know you're right about a program that you've run. You know you've been successful, but the program is being called something less than successful by an outside arbiter. Also, know when to compromise. That's what I mean by to the client be true. Clients, the people you work with, the people who pay us for our programs, by and large are pretty knowledgeable people. You've got to be sensitive to their needs. And when they're judging your work, keep that in mind. You're not always right. None of us are always right. And lastly, please accept the roles of luck and fate. Blind luck, blind fate. See them all the time, every day. So when you're being evaluated, keep this in mind. And don't be afraid to call attention to this kind of issue when you're being evaluated. If something happened that dramatically altered the results of a program, something beyond your control, you should make mention of that. I mean, if you've got a big press conference scheduled for one day, and that happens to be the same day when something big happens, like, say, our president wakes up or something like that. That was a non-political statement, not a lifestyle comment, not a political statement. Anything can happen anytime, all right? And you should recognize that going in. As part of the process of educating your clients, you should make a point of that. Excuse me. The ideals, when it comes to program evaluation, and these are very much ideal. Content analysis in terms of media, messages, audience, to a lesser extent, advertising equivalency. I get something to drink over here. Now, content analysis is terrific. That's it. It's a magical thing. Only I control this button. Content analysis is terrific if you've got the time, money, and resources and so forth to do it. I think some of the big agencies around the country, I think Ketchum, yeah. Are you familiar with their model? Somewhat. Okay. Maybe we can touch it. I know I don't know anything about it. They have these models that are established that analyze media coverage in terms of the type of media in which the story is placed, the quality of the placement. In other words, is it a roundup story? Is it a feature story? Is it a byline story? What is it? The number of key messages that are included in the story. These are all factors that they have on a computer. They come up with a score for the story. Now, it's a good system, I think, except that it costs a lot of money to do it. And not many of us have that. Have those kinds of budgets. I've had a cold for the last few days, so I'll have kind of a throat problem. Bear with me. Theoretically, a good system, but again, you've got to have the time and the money to do it. Now, another problem is the problem of relevance. A lot of people do these advertising equivalencies, where they'll say, okay, how much money would those column inches of copy have cost me were they advertising space? not a very good gauge of success. I don't think you should allow yourself to be evaluated in those terms. A lot of clients like it because it's one quantifiable way, especially for a client who's advertising oriented, to say, oh yeah, well I had, let's see, I had half a page story of Newsweek. If I bought a half a page of advertising in Newsweek, that would have cost, $5, $10 million, whatever it happens to be. Well, it's kind of nonsense. It's an apples and oranges comparison because there's no way, number one, there's no way to compare the quality of an ad, the content of an ad to that of an editorial placement. And likewise, you're really trying to do two different things. And advertising is a very direct sales pitch. PR story is something else. Okay. I was going to do 3 case studies. Instead, I'm going to rest my voice and turn it over to Arnold.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. First thing that struck me about Jerry's talk is that when I talk about a pioneer, I always think of Eddie Bernays, who's going to celebrate his 94th birthday. And I want to make a very sharp distinction here that in my mind, a pioneer is somebody who's 90 years old or older. But anyhow, I take it in the right spirit that a pioneer is somebody who hopefully leaves his footprints behind. And at least at Hampton Beach, I think I've done that. Now, to get a little more serious, Jerry and I are in complete agreement, I think, in terms of the importance of evaluation. I would simply want to underscore that when I read what's happening in corporations, and what you probably read too, for example, in the New York Times, is that whereas public relations firms are enjoying a boom in business, a lot of corporations are talking about downsizing. And when you're facing downsizing, a loss of staff, then you feel this pressure that Jerry was talking about. Try to demonstrate the value of what you do. As far as MBAs are concerned, yes, talk their language, something that a lot of public relations graduate students don't know how to do. I send them over to the business school in order to take an OB course, an organizational behavior course, just to learn that language. Also a marketing management course. And in terms of marketing, I would say that evaluation also should nowadays be discussed in the context of marketing. Because I would say certainly since President Reagan has been in office, there's been deregulation, more attention to competitiveness. Also, we see that worldwide competition is affecting us, so that with all of these pressures, competitive pressures, the marketplace discipline is very much on the minds of managers who are evaluating the value of public relations. Now, what I'd like to do is this. Can I raise this? I always feel, let's see, do we have chalk though? Okay, we'll be flexible and we'll use this board instead. Same thing happens to me in class, incidentally. The board is always there, but the chalk is often missing. There's a model that's often referred to in evaluation, and this is a cybernetics model. We'll write down the word over here. That's a little gamesmanship. You know, when you talk to managers, you can say you're using the cybernetics model, and the manager may or may not wonder what it is. But I associate this with Norbert Wiener at MIT, who wrote a book on it and talked about it as being derived from Greek, and very much meaning someone who steers, always steering in the direction of a goal. And if the goal is a moving target, then you've always got to make adjustments. So his model was basically this. You have an arrow which represents the input. I'll explain this later. Then you have, and for us, I'll just put down the word program and then explain it a little later. Norbert Wiener would often talk about this as being like a muscle or an effector, he calls it. And then we have our arrow going out, and this is the output, and this is what we're trying to achieve, the ultimate effect of our program. Now, the key to the cybernetics model is that you have this loop going back, and we're all familiar with the word feedback. And the way Norbert Wiener explains this is that it's simply taking a